Russell looking to throw, goes underneath, and it's intercepted. Flag is down. Vincent will run it in for a touchdown.
Hey everyone, Brad Wilson coming to you live from Kings Football Stadium with Vincent or Vinny Ray, which people may know you as. And so thank you for taking some time to sit down with us and just have a little discussion about faith, football, and whatever else we talk about.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk football and talk about our faith.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people would know you from your time with the Bengals. But kind of backing up a little bit with that, what's a little background just on where you came from and what happened prior to you getting to Cincinnati?
Okay, yeah. So I'm from Queens, New York originally, specifically a place called Far Rockaway in Queens. I have an older sister, younger brother. Mm-hmm. I have great parents who are, married, and they recently retired. My father was he drove the train operator mm-hmm. in New York, and my mother was a teacher and guidance counselor. And not many schools in New York have football like here in Ohio, and I had to travel almost 2 hours each way to get to school and back every day for 4 years. And it was all worth it because I ended up getting a scholarship, getting a chance to go to Duke University, but before going to Duke, I had to go to a prep school for a year, and then I went to Duke and played for 4 years. Played there, ended up graduating. The year after I graduated, I came back during an NFL lockout and had a chance to meet my wife, a month before she graduated. Mm-hmm. She went to law school after that, and we got married. Now we have 2 daughters and a third on the way. Mm-hmm.
So going back to Duke, because we talked about this a week or so ago on the phone, and just did you grow up a follower of Christ, a believer, or was that something that really maybe later in life kind of got kickstarted and going for you?
Well, I grew up in a Christian household. Both of my parents were youth pastors mm-hmm. at our church. And I grew up and was in the youth ministry before I had headed on to college. But at some point, the faith has to become your own. Mm-hmm. I can't just inherit my parents' faith. And I had to say, am I going to choose to follow Christ for my own? Am I going to go to church? I don't live at home anymore. I can do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. I'm my own man. And I think the game-changing, point for me was when I was about 21 years old. I had a team chaplain, whose name we call him Mitch. He decided to mentor me once a week for an entire year, and that changed the game for me mm-hmm. because before then I had always been known as he's a good guy. He listens. He does this, that, and the third. Coaches liked me because whatever the coach told me to do, I was going to implement that on the field as hard as possible, as fast as possible. I was a good student. Mm-hmm. But Mitch, the man who discipled me, who mentored me, told me, hey, your righteousness on its own, your goodness, all that good stuff you do, it means nothing to God. If you're standing on that to compare yourself to God, you have no comparison. You don't mm-hmm. meet the mark. So I really had to choose to follow the Lord, and it wasn't just a one-day decision. It was an everyday decision. I'm going to honor the Lord on Sunday, and I'm going to honor him on Friday night. I'm going to honor him with my life, everything I do. And that was a big point for me in my mm-hmm. life, and I'm thankful for him.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Mitch a little bit, and what you're talking about there is, I think, at least this is how I feel. I don't know how you feel, Vinny, but I think a lot of guys and, thinking of the men that are watching this, and even the younger kids, the younger boys that are watching this, is we tend to, with a lot of things in life, like compartmentalize. So we've got our school self, grades, but then we have sports. We may have whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, you have your job, and then you kind of have your faith. So what I'm kind of thinking in with that, and you were saying, is something where you can't just show up on Sunday and then the other 6 days are different. Why do you think for guys, and especially anyone, thinking of athletes in particular, why do you think sometimes it seems like we're regimented and focused on certain things? Is it so difficult for us to get to that place with our faith where we're like, okay, it has to become our own, and we really have that be a part of every day, not just the times during the week we're in church?
That's a good question. I mean, there's probably so many good answers to that, but I think it's because it's hard. It's hard to honor the Lord and choose to honor the Lord in all areas of our lives all the time. It's a hard thing to do. It's hard to run every sprint as hard as you can. It's hard to continually get up and, exercise, get on the elliptical, get on the treadmill, anything. It's hard to stay committed to that. And I think it's no different when it comes to honoring the Lord. You have external pressures that are on us that don't want us to honor the Lord with our whole lives, and also internal pressures, because we're born in sin. We don't identify with our sin anymore. Like that's not what we're known by, because we're in Christ. God is now our Father. However, we still have those things within us that we're like, no, I don't want to honor the Lord now. I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to do what He wants me to do. But ultimately, even when I look at it with athletics, the guys who I've been around that were most successful, they made it an all the time thing. Meaning, I can name Terrell Owens. I had a chance to play with him my rookie year, and I saw this guy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every practice going 100%. He was the standard in terms of how to practice. And he came here just 1 year, but him showing me how to practice, I'm like, hey, this guy is a future Hall of Famer. If he's practicing that way, I need to practice like that too. So he set the standard, and in the same way, I believe those who are walking out the Christian walk the best make it an all the time thing to choose to honor the Lord, to choose to be concerned for others more than themselves. It's all the time thing.
Yeah. So you talk about when you think of with T.O., I mean, that was towards with him after he's been established and everything he'd done, and you think towards the end of his career, I mean, a great example to follow with that. And kind of going back to, before we jump back into some of the NFL stuff, but going back to Mitch and kind of what we talked about, like you said, looking to T.O. and seeing the example that he did on a kind of, whether it's one-on-one or a personal basis, when it comes to your faith, can you speak a little bit to how just intentional Mitch was with you and in helping bring you along and really getting you locked in spiritually on a day-to-day basis?
Yes. So Mitch, every week there was something that I was supposed to accomplish, whether it was living holy, not cursing, not giving in to sexual temptation. Every week there was being a leader on the team, not being passive as a leader. I have that propensity, to kind of just shrink back and be passive at times, and to actually be a leader, step out and say the thing that's not popular. So every week I had to check in with him, and it was either a pass or fail. There's no in between. And when I failed, there was grace there. God is gracious, but you still want to hit that mark. You don't go out for a game saying, hey, we're going to fail a little bit, but hey, no, you go out every game. You say, I'm going to play the perfect game. This might be my perfect game. So I want to honor the Lord, not to earn my salvation or to earn being right with him. I'm already right with him by faith, by what Jesus did. So I can rest in that, but I still want to work hard because I want to show him that I'm responding to his love. And
I think sometimes, like, especially with men and guys in particular, and I think about with just some of the students in our church, is it's important to have that one-on-one, and there's also that almost that discipleship aspect that I think, and maybe for guys in general, because I don't know about you, but sometimes for me, if someone challenges me, it's much easier for me to respond in the way I need to than if there's no challenging. So from that, and just kind of thinking about as men, why do you think it is so important for us to surround ourselves, not maybe with a huge group, but with one or two guys that challenge us, but also for us to kind of challenge others in really discipling them or push them in their faith?
I do think that as men, we tend to rise to the occasion. Mm-hmm. I think when things get tough for us, it's not weighing us down. It's more of a mantle and it help for us to carry and fight. I remember back in high school, so high school and college, when you're in season, you think, oh, I have all this schoolwork and I have all this football, whatever sport I'm playing. But in football, and I bet it's the same with other sports, in football, we found out that your grade point average was higher during the season than when it was the off season and times were down, when you had more time to yourself. And it just seems like when you have a rigorous schedule, the tougher the schedule got, the better you were going to perform. And I see that, as men, as football players in the NFL, when we were playing against our toughest opponents, we were playing our best because we knew, hey, we have to perform. And the temptation when you're not playing against an opponent that is as tough, the temptation is to relax, chill, take it easy. So just to know that, to have someone on you and to have someone that you are running the race with, then that pushes you to run the race harder.
So what you're saying with that, in speaking of in NFL terms, there's a different mentality when you're playing my Lions versus if you're playing the Steelers or the Ravens, right?
Oh man, I don't want to say that, but you said it. I mean, I know when I was playing and we go to Pittsburgh, you're not going to win unless you play an awesome game. So when we're going there, and that's probably the most hostile environment I play in every year. Usually, that's the place. And you go in there, they've had 6 Super Bowl rings. That might be the most out of all NFL teams. I'm not sure, but a team like them, or even Baltimore, these teams, you go there, you got to bring it. But there's some teams, I guess,
It's all right. Everyone knows it. So we're just trying to stay ahead of the Browns.
Well, we may have been that team to some other teams.
Well, yeah. Let me ask you a few just lighter questions, and then we'll dip back into a little more questions of in depth. But this is important stuff. Best in all your time in the NFL. Best player that you played with.
Best player that I played with.
Or maybe we'll get 2 guys. The best guy that you played with that played on offense, and then the best guy you played with on defense.
I think the best player. Can I give 2 guys on each side?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Best players I've played with on offense were AJ Green and Andrew Whitworth. AJ Green just makes all the plays, man. This is a guy who he's fast, he's quick, he's tall, but many people don't know. Pound for pound, he may be the strongest guy on the Bengals team. Extremely strong from top to bottom. So he's just going to run through you if you're trying to guard him, and he's very athletic. Andrew Whitworth, consistent. The guy protects the quarterback's blind side, and I've heard from defenders who we played against say, hey, I couldn't even see the quarterback because he was so big, So,
yeah, that's a good thing.
He's at maybe 6'7", 6'8", he's a big guy. So those are the 2 best I've played with on offense. On defense, I got to throw in the 3rd guy on offense, man. Joe Mixon. I've only had a chance to play with him maybe 2-3 years, but he's the real deal. He's big. Everyone sees how big he is, but when you got to think of him as a fast guy who happens to be big. He's not just a big guy. He's a fast guy. He's a quick guy. Defensively, Geno Atkins, you can't argue that much. I think he's a future Hall of Famer. He's just so steady every year. I've been to the Pro Bowl countless times. It's hard to block him one-on-one. And I loved playing with a guy named Reggie Nelson. He was an awesome player to play with, man, and he's just made all the plays, from sideline to sideline. Great safety. And I want to throw in a third guy who I really like, who's up and coming right now. I really like Sam Hubbard. He plays defensive end. He's from here. He went to Moeller, I believe, and went to Ohio State. He's a tough guy, plays hard, and he's going to be the reason why the Bengals win games this year.
Well, that's good. That's good to know for people watching. They have some hope with that. I wish he didn't go to Ohio State because I'm also a Michigan guy. But whatever. That's water under the bridge. Just water under the bridge. So, interesting that, and people may not realize this. I'm just wondering if there's any significance to it. But I think your first 2 years in the NFL, you wore number 53.
Yes, my first year, I wore 53.
And then you switched to 57.
Yes.
What was there a reason behind it, or is that what you wore in college and became available?
Well, in college I wore 31, but my rookie year I wore 53. I only played in 2 games. I was on the practice squad most of the year, so I think they just gave me 53. But the year after, I wore 57 because my rookie year, I had a chance to play with a guy by the name of Dhani Jones, an 11-year NFL veteran. He was a great presence in our locker room, and I actually lived with him my rookie year. Let me live with him. I didn't have a license to drive. I'm from New York. I never drove before my life until I was 24 years old, so like my second year in the NFL. Never drove. So, it was. I wanted to wear his number, and I asked him if I could, and he said yes.
All right, that's pretty cool. All right, so moving from college to NFL, what's the biggest challenge of being a follower of Christ in the NFL, in an NFL locker room?
Yeah, while I was in my time in the NFL, I think the biggest challenge for me was dealing with pride and prestige, especially. In the NFL, you get so much given to you. People look at you like you're such a great person, and I went from playing at Duke, where my first 2 years at Duke, we won 1 game in my first 2 years. We weren't a powerhouse, and they're a lot better now, and I'm thankful for that. But I go from Duke campus, I'm a regular guy, and I get here, I'm in the NFL, and everyone thinks I'm so great. And then you start to believe that, hey, I am this, I am, whether you're going out to a restaurant, they seat you at the nicest seats. Wherever you go, you kind of get preferential treatment. So I think that was the toughest thing to deal with, prestige, thinking that you're better than thinking that you're better than you are.
It seems like for men, one of the things we struggle with is in all avenues is pride. And I think sometimes what's weird is even as a dad, and I don't think it matters if you're a dad to daughters, if you're a dad to sons, but it's like when your kids succeed and, we wrestle, we want to see them succeed, and we want to see success in our private lives, we want to see success professionally, and pride seems to be something that guys, it's universal, we struggle with. What do you think is a key for us in, overcoming that struggle? Because I think pride in our lives, it can wreak a ton of havoc.
Pride. I mean, the Bible says pride comes before the fall, and I've seen it in men's lives in the NFL. I've seen it in a lot of life, and I think the main prescription, or the main way to get rid of pride is to keep remembering the gospel. Make it a daily gospel where you just are reminded that, hey, I needed Jesus. Jesus lived the life I couldn't live and died the death I should have died, in my place, you know, and remembering that should get rid of pride in me, you know, because I need Jesus like everyone else does. So yeah, that would be my answer.
What was in your NFL career, and this may be hard to pin down one thing, what was your greatest moment in the league?
I had some great moments. Okay. My greatest moment, I'll go with 2015, third game of the season. We're playing at home against the San Diego Chargers at the time. Now they're Los Angeles. And all week we had practiced to prepare for their offense, and really the quarterback. He's a beast. He was doing great at the time. Phillip Rivers is his name, and he does a great job controlling the whole offense, and specifically controlling the offensive line, telling them who to block, which usually the center takes care of that, but he was controlling it all. And he's, he did a great job not getting sacked for that season, because he just controls the offensive line, who's going to block who, and he keeps us off balance as a defense. But I was able to we had a chess match going. It's a third down. It's later in the second half, and crowd's going wild. The crowd's great at Paul Brown, by the way. Crowd's going wild, and he sets the offense. The clock's low, and I shift the defense. He doesn't have time to reshift and redeclare who they're going to block, and we run in the backfield. I think Carlos Dunlap, defensive end, I think he comes like scot-free. This guy's 6'6", 280 pounds, and he's scot-free, Who's going to leave a guy that big scot-free? But we got him, we sacked him, we ended up winning the game, and that was a big moment for me.
So people probably don't recognize how much of, you use the terms like a kind of a chess match of which is going on, because you hear, like, more people talk now because what was it, Peyton Manning, you'd hear is Omaha.
Yeah.
Like, if you pay attention, there's a lot of talking taking place. It seems like, you're watching the game, but pre-snap from both sides, adjustments and everything. So wouldn't you see the common fan has no clue all the moving pieces and adjustments that are going on?
Yeah, I agree. I agree, because the work is put in. We go to work throughout the week. We come in Monday to evaluate the game, Tuesday's off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're there all day, Wednesday and Thursday, and the coaches are there longer than the players. So it's all a chess match. So when you get there, you're going to see some new plays that you haven't seen, but most of the plays you see from the offense you've already seen before. And probably the same for the offense with seeing us as a defense. So it really is a chess match. And we're not just going out there and hitting each other, and but at the end of the day, everyone has a one-on-one battle to win. And one of my former coaches, Mike Zimmer, used to say, everyone's counting on you to do your job. Don't go out there and do anything else. Do your job. So it's one-on-one battles, and if you got to win your battle more than your guy wins against you, because eventually you'll get fired if you don't. And it's such high intensity. Every play matters, and that's why I love it. Is you get the best performances from players.
All right. Well, two more questions. Let me come back to that quote from Zimmer, the one-on-one battles, and let me ask you a moment ago, best moment. What was, with your time in the NFL, what would you say worst moment?
Worst moment in the NFL, my 6th year in the NFL. We won the division. We were 12-4, and we play a game at home. Many know. We play a game at home. We do not have our starting quarterback, who was an MVP candidate mid-year. He had gotten hurt, freak accident, and our backup quarterback, A.J. McCarron, he's a great player, leads us down the field. We score a touchdown. We're winning. We come out there on defense. First play, one of our best players on defense, Vontez Burfict, baits the quarterback. It's a new quarterback in there. Baits him, throws an interception, and then we fumbled. And then we're on offense. We're thinking this game, but we should have known the game isn't over until the clock says 0. We fumble the ball, and defensively, it's our job to go out there and stop them. We were winning by less than 3 points, so all they needed was a field goal. And lo and behold, the great Big Ben comes back in the game. He's like, hey, I'm gonna finish this, I'm gonna get it done, and he comes in and he gets it done. But I think we helped him in doing that through a lack of discipline, I would say, and many would say. But that was probably the hardest game to lose. And I just, I think about that still to this day. And that year, the whole offseason, 2016, I thought about it every day for months.
So, and how does, when you face something like that and the adversity in the moment, the adversity coming from you're thinking about it, how does your faith, because all of us, it may not be a playoff game like that, but all of us in life, we encounter these moments, these times, situations of adversity. So how did your faith help you deal with that? And, how do you think our faith helps us or should help us get through those situations, those moments of adversity?
Yeah, well, I would first say our faith needs to tell us that everything is important. Everything we do is important because God cares about us and he cares about what we do. He cares about being glorified. So he wants to get the maximum glory in our lives. So everything is important, and that game was so important. And, but at the end of the day, it's football. And even though it meant a whole lot to me, it still was my job, and there's always something greater. There's always something next. We don't just sit and look at the past and just cry and that's it. You cry, yes, but you have to move forward. I'm reminded of after David sinned with Uriah's wife,
Bathsheba,
yeah. After David sinned with her and killed, him, and then. One of the punishments was there was a child coming and the child died. The Lord said the child was going to die, and David just cried and cried and prayed and prayed and prayed and fasted. And when God didn't answer his prayer, he kind of just got up and he moved on. I was reminded of that just now in speaking to you. At some point, you just got to move on, learn from it. Just make sure you learn from it and move on.
All right. I appreciate the time. This is my last question. Going back to that with what Coach Zimmer said, everyone's got to win their one-on-one battle.
Yeah.
And you think about for us as believers and where we find ourselves, how important is it for us, and just how would you encourage everyone that's watching this that we all have one-on-one battles. We all have battles. I really believe that God's He's put us in a spot to obviously show Christ through it and get through it. What would your encouragement be to anyone that's watching this of how you overcome or just dealing with those battles, those one-on-ones we all face?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that your one-on-one battle matters, not to put too much pressure on anyone, but it's a lot of pressure. It's just true. It's a lot of pressure as a man, as a husband, as a father. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure as a teenager, a preteen. There's pressure on you as a teenager to perform in school, to honor the Lord, to be a good brother or sister or son or daughter. All those things, it's pressure. But just like the Lord said to Joshua, be courageous, not because you can do it, because you're strong enough, but because I'm with you, and that's why you can do it. So I would say, hey, you can win those one-on-one battles in your life every day because the Lord is with you, and he's giving you the tools. Some of the tools are me, you, us, people. The people of God are the tools. We can't be an island. No man's an island. We have to be together. We have to, we have to be discipled. We have to make disciples. And the Word of God, the Bible. Prayer is an awesome tool, and communion to commemorate what the Lord's done for us, and dying for us, to always keep that on our minds. I think these are the tools that'll help us to win our one-on-one battles in life, because there are so many things God wants us to accomplish.
Well, Vincent, man, I enjoyed this, and great to just pick your brain. Great to hear about your story. I'm glad that we're able to share, and all the people that will be watching this, just excited for them to be able to hear from you, hear your heart, and just kind of just hear your story of how God's used you throughout your life, and just excited about how He's going to continue to use you in the future. And so I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this.
So enjoyed it, and we hope you guys enjoyed this as well, and we will talk to you later.